Say what you will about 2024 and its myriad of failures, especially on the live service front. However, as far as single-player experiences go, we've been stuffed beyond belief. Almost every genre has several acclaimed titles to dive into and lose hundreds of hours, but which of all stands best above the rest? Check out our picks for the 20 best single-player games of 2024. Silent Hill 2 Remake. There's something about the second entry in Konami's survival horror series that keeps fans coming back years and years after its launch. Perhaps it's the crime and punishment style plot and how complex James Sunderland's character, ego and all, is portrayed as he roams the Nightmare Manifest. While concerns arose over Bloober Team adapting the classic, especially given its previous horror titles, it ultimately delivered on its vision of Silent Hill 2. Changes seemed given, whether the over-the-shoulder camera, new attacks for enemies, a more extensive range of areas to explore, or a new voice cast. However, Silent Hill 2 Remake is a masterpiece in dread-inducing terror. Whether you're walking through its fog-covered streets and watching something scurry nearby, or locked in a desperate battle with Pyramid Head, several sections witnessed significant alterations but didn't hamper the pacing or storytelling. And the presentation, especially composer Akira Yamaoka's music, is top-notch. The restless dreams of Konami's classic will likely continue for generations to come, but the remake offers an excellent homecoming for longtime fans. Black Myth: Wukong. When it was first revealed in 2020, many were skeptical that Black Myth: Wukong's visuals were real, call it being burned one too many times by misleading trailers over the years, but as time passed, it quickly became obvious that GameScience's AAA debut was very much the real deal. It went beyond the incredible art direction and visuals, offering up an action RPG epic that could finally capture the magic of the famous Chinese novel, Journey to the West. Suffice it to say that Black Myth: Wukong scored on that front while presenting an impressive range of boss battles, an intriguing combat system combining Souls-like mechanics and character-driven action games, and stunning environments laden with unusual characters and secrets. With 20 million sold in its first month and an expansion on its way, it's a fantastic start to what could be an enthralling Black Myth universe. Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree. Elden Ring's first and only paid expansion, like many of the developer's previous titles, can't be summed up succinctly. It's a multi-layered masterpiece, starting from the outset when it humbles you with its difficulty. Exploration is once again the focus, from finding new weapons and spells to harnessing shadow fragments to improve your damage resistance. However, the rules are slightly different in this land, with its excessive verticality and twisting paths. The quest to find Miquella is rife with new bosses that won't conform to what the base game throws at you, often necessitating new tactics to overcome them. However, even with the seemingly overwhelming difficulty, that sense of getting lost in this massive world, learning more about Marika's origins, and ultimately overcoming hardships remains unparalleled. Dragon's Dogma 2. Between all the sequels that fans wanted from Capcom, one title would come up again and again: Dragon's Dogma. Inspired by the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, director Hideaki Itsuno's take on a fantasy RPG world with dragons had a strong cult following. After years of waiting, this year finally marked the launch of Dragon's Dogma 2, and in many ways it offers more than fans ever expected. The massive world, split into two kingdoms and multiple areas in between, is brimming with threats and surprises, and players are encouraged to explore on foot to find them all. Combat has been expanded with new vocations, while pawns return and offer new mechanics, like the Dragon's Plague. Though the overall plot meanders in the second half, Dragon's Dogma 2 is still a compelling open-world action RPG, one where your own stories through its dangerous recesses echo louder. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The irony of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is that it doesn't truly open up until about 2 hours in. However, after revisiting past memories, exploring new perspectives, and engaging in some stealth, that first look at the sheer expanse of the world and all of its potential is unforgettable, and that the development team went overboard in the sheer amount of stuff to do. From new activities like Queen's Blood to fleshing out sequences like Junon Parade, it's an understatement. There is so much to do, so many characters to interact with, and so many challenges to complete that it can be overwhelming. That's not even getting into all the combat additions, especially with newcomers to the main party like Yuffie, Kate Sith, and Red 13 lending their own unique playstyles to the mix. While the wait continues towards the inevitable finale in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, Rebirth stands out as one of the premier RPGs of the year, which is saying something given the sheer amount of competition. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. How do you follow up on a title that is simply bigger than multiple games combined? As Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 proves by going even bigger. The so-called digital twin is more massive and intricately detailed than before, between new points of interest, airports, air traffic, marine life, and more noticeable during flights. However, it's also more focused with a career mode that allows for different jobs as a commercial pilot or starting as a complete rookie, building up your skills through various tests and cutting your teeth in search and rescue, VIP escort, medvac, and more. Build up a fleet, take on tougher challenges, and ultimately see everything that the world has to offer. Everything beloved about its predecessor is more detailed and accurately modeled, especially with the introduction of more aviation systems and a pre-flight planner. If you want to break, tour the world, and photograph its beauty, stepping outside your plane to capture the flora and fauna, you could also venture into the Challenge League for high-stakes competition. Whatever you desire, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 has you covered. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. As much of a mainstay as Indiana Jones has been in popular culture, the lack of a definitive video game from the eyes of the archaeologist-turned-adventurer felt conspicuous. Machine Games finally filled that void with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Our hero, possessing Harrison Ford's likeness and Troy Baker's voice, is on a journey to investigate the mysterious phenomenon connecting major locations worldwide, ideally before Nazi archaeologist Emmerich Voss. The overall presentation, cinematography, and storytelling are a wonderful callback to the classic films, but the action is no slouch. Despite the first-person perspective, there's as much platforming, puzzle-solving, investigation, and fisticuffs as a fan could desire, and the immersive sim elements combined with some well-designed open levels make for a fun revisit. Life is Strange Double Exposure. Few expected the Life is Strange series to come full circle and bring back Max Caulfield as the protagonist. Set several years after the first game, it's only appropriate that so much should change, including her own powers, which have gone from rewinding time to accessing a parallel dimension. Nevertheless, she can never be free from tragedy, with the murder of her new friend Safi awakening these new powers and venturing into a dimension-hopping mystery. The conclusion leaves something to be desired, yet everything that we love about the series, its characters, the bonds that define them, the choices that ripple throughout the story, are intact. Whether it ranks among the series' best is hard to say, but Life is Strange Double Exposure is an exciting new direction for the franchise. Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl. Your first introduction to the zone in Stalker 2: Hearts of Chernobyl is all about survival, fighting off mutants, patching your wounds, managing your weapons, and avoiding anomalies. It's only a taste of what's to come. In the works for many years, Stalker 2 is an immersive experience with a sizable map, offering dangerous locations, hostile or friendly if you play your cards right, factions, valuable artifacts, and of course mysteries. Exploration is organic and knowledge is your best friend, though the responsive gunplay ensures that the right weapons can help. Gorgeous visuals, frighteningly realistic characters, meticulously crafted locales, challenging yet rewarding survival mechanics, Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl offers it all, and so much more. The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Finally, Nintendo, alongside Grezzo, delivers a Zelda title that features the titular princess in a playable role. The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom doesn't just swap out Link, however. It gives players a brand new set of tools in the form of echoes to conjure their own solutions to problems. Exploring dungeons, taking naps during boss fights, and summoning enemies to fight alongside them is only the tip of the iceberg, as echoes are used for puzzle solving and unearthing various secrets, not unlike Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. It's a remarkable gameplay loop and leverages the series' strengths while exploring new directions. Banishers: Ghosts of New Eden. Dontnod has branched out significantly from the Life is Strange series, delivering unorthodox titles like Jusant. Banishers: Ghost of New Eden is more in line with Vampire, an action RPG where your choices resonate with the story and the world state. And though the combat and progression could be better, the journey of fellow Banishers Red and Antia as they navigate moral dilemmas and reconcile their own losses is one that's handled with a remarkable tenderness. The setting of late 17th century New Eden is also fun to traverse, adding to the solemn atmosphere. Astrobot. Team Asobi's latest platformer is the highest rated game of the year per critics, and it offers everything that genre fans could desire. Excellent level design, an array of challenges, fun abilities and movement, memorable bosses, plenty to collect, you get the drift. However, it also has a stellar tribute to PlayStation with various iconic characters appearing as bots and even partaking in the story. Between its amazing presentation backed by gorgeous visuals and a memorable soundtrack, Astrobot cements that little bot as Sony's long sought after platforming mascot. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Spare a thought for RGG Studio and how it can top the likes of Dragon Infinite Wealth. Outside of the epic story, which can take dozens of hours to complete, the RPG is brimming with side quests, play spots, dungeons, classes, summons, and much more to experience. That's not even talking about Dondoko Island, the Animal Crossing-like resort management activity, or Sujimon, the Pokemon-like collecting minigame complete with battles. Despite so many massive titles released this year, Infinite Wealth offers plenty of bang for your buck. Sonic X Shadow Generations. The Year of Shadow will culminate with the launch of the third Sonic the Hedgehog film, but Shadow Generations is a notable stop. On top of offering a standalone campaign from Sonic Generations, which is still fantastic by the way, there's brand new story as Shadow confronts Black Doom and ventures into memories of stages past. These top-notch recreations, like Space Colony Arc and Radical Highway from Sonic Adventure 2 and Kingdom Valley from Sonic 06, are fantastic and backed by excellent rearrangements of classic tunes. Then there are the boss battles, which are equally amazing and offer everything from intriguing twists to completely new mechanics on well-worn foes, and the new Doom powers which transform exploration without bogging down the pacing. All in all, if you're a fan of the franchise, or even Shadow, then Shadow Generations is worth the price of admission alone. Satisfactory. Coffee Stain Studios' latest isn't just about growing the factory, though it definitely demands you do. It's all in the name, the satisfaction of laying out conveyor belts, machines, pipes, smelters, power sources, cables, and endless spaghetti to quickly and efficiently expand. To research higher tech tiers to feed the loop and to send more and more materials to the mysterious Fix-It via the giant space elevator. However, there's also an element of exploration, as each map encourages venturing out into the wilderness to discover new materials, the sense of wonder slowly replaced by the overwhelming obsession to transport it back to base. At its core, Satisfactory is about efficiency, yet even as the complexity of your factory skyrocket, wholly enveloping your life, it's the charm, the subtle humor, and the satisfying nature of every action that carries you through. The Legend of Heroes trails through Daybreak. When you spend about 8 years with the same core cast of characters, the same game engine, and a familiar battle system, receiving new additions over time but fundamentally similar, it can get a bit tiring. The Legend of Heroes trails through Daybreak isn't just a breath of fresh air with its new setting, the Calvard Republic, or brand new cast, but in the overall mood and atmosphere. Van Arkwright walks a fine line between order and chaos, with choices between them reflected throughout the story. As players delve into Edith's seedy underworld, there's new revelations and threats to discover. Thankfully, there's also some great new combat to master between real-time and hack-and-slash and command-based battles. Senua's Saga Hellblade II. If you went into Hellblade 2 expecting something radically different from Senua's Sacrifice, there may have been some disappointment. It's linear, the combat isn't revolutionary, though its animations are way more intricate, and it's roughly the length of the latest Call of Duty campaign. However, those keen on reuniting with Senua and embarking on a new journey, one full of memorable and frightening sights backed by tout pacing and cinematic visuals, are in for a treat. A venerable odyssey through 9th century Iceland with mythology and horror intertwined with Senua's psychosis, Hellblade 2 is a gorgeous trip into darkness and conflict. Stellar Blade. Before playing it, I heard how Shift Up's Stellar Blade was significantly influenced by Nier Automata. The opening seems designed to echo the latter, between the loss of allied life and encounter with overwhelming odds. However, Eve's journey through a post-apocalyptic, Naytiba-infested Earth slowly opened up into its own moody action-adventure, one with gorgeous locales, stories of sacrifice, and remnants of humanity. The characterization could have used some more work at the end of it all. However, no one can deny how enjoyable the ride was. Whether it was exploring the giant open-world-esque expanses, riding through the hypertube, or battling the body horrors that were the Alpha Naytiba. With solid mechanics, an impressive assortment of abilities, and enough customization, Stellar Blade's combat anchored the whole experience while setting it apart from its inspiration. Whether it stands alongside the genre's greats, it's still an incredible single-player experience. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. It doesn't matter if you're knowledgeable about Warhammer 40k or not, Space Marine 2 is a must-play for action games. Its campaign, which sees the return of Captain Titus, throws swarms of Tyranids and other foes with other few breaks, inviting you to tear them apart in spectacular fashion with bolters, plasma incinerators, and the all-reliable chainsword. The pacing is tout, the visuals are stunning and immaculately detailed, the biggest set pieces deliver on the hype, but even beyond that, single-player fans can venture into operations for even more action, mastering the different classes and loadouts, ascending the difficulties, and ultimately conquering everything for the Emperor. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. The Rogue Prince of Persia continues to develop with new updates, but Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown arguably takes the crown in side-scrolling action. As Sargon, players venture to Mount Guap to save the prince, exploring Metroid-style environments and taking on all kinds of foes and bosses. In classic Prince of Persia fashion, obstacles and layouts necessitate mastering the traversal mechanics and time-bending to give Sargon an edge, especially during the excellent combat. If the genre offers any passing interest, then Lost Crown is well worth the investment. Hey, did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.